Okay, folks. Following up from the last video, so once you're able to gauge the joints and manipulate the joints the way you want it by pulling and pushing, going into the electric and magnetic phase, then we want to make it a little bit more subtle in terms of how we do it. So if we have a training partner and all I'm doing is using fingertips and I'm not moving my hands, I'm just connecting to him through here. So this requires a little bit more sensitivity because I've got less contact, right? But I want to tap his structure and I want to feel all the different parts. And he's giving me the same thing where he can feel my base. And then all I need to do is, while I'm connected, I just push my joints open and we have that effect, right? And same thing, while I connect to him, I feel his feet and I pull my joints open, right? We have that effect. The magnetic in this is a little bit more difficult because the connection's not as strong, right? But so that requires a little bit more mental connection than the other ones. Whereas if I go this way, where I connected to here, it's a lot easier because I can feel more from this angle than through here, right? So you'll start to figure out all these things as you play with it, as you develop your sensitivity. The whole process is increase your perception, right? Which means increase your sensitivity of your partner's structure, energy, mind. And then you go through the process of controlling your own energetic system and your body and your mind. Then it becomes easier and easier as you develop yourself. It's a matter, it doesn't take long. Once your mind is in the right place, it works. If it's not, then it won't work. It's as simple as that. It's a formula, right? There's nothing mystical about it. If we look at why this works, a good analogy is studying the electrical circuits from electronic studies. So if you look at an electrical circuit, so you've got a few different aspects to it. So you've got the current flow, right? You've got the resistor, the capacitor, and the inductor, right? And it's the same thing that's happening in our body. So the current or the energy flows through the fascial system, right? So the fascia is basically what transmits and receives energy, right? The resistor of this is the muscles. As soon as the muscle is switched on, it stops the flow of the energy or the current, right? And then you got the capacitor, which is basically the joints. So if the joints are compressed, then it can't release energy. The joints have to be open for the energy to release. And this is where you look at the inductor, which is the bone or bone marrow and bone tissue. That's where the energy is stored. So if you study piezoelectricity, right, the few materials that conduct energy or store energy is ceramics, crystals, and bone tissue, right? So that's what's happening when you're putting stress onto your body. That energy is getting stored into the bones. And when you release your joints open, that stored energy is released through the capacitor into the conductive pathway of the fascia. And then you're able to transmit it to your training partner because they have the same thing. So when you establish a connection, you're basically creating a circuit, right? So when I touch, I'm creating a circuit between my partner and myself, right? And the way I do that is, one, there's the fascial connection, but then I have to get my mind into his tension lines. That strengthens a conductive pathway or the circuit, right? Then I just open my capacitor, which is my joints, and release my energy into him, right? So it's all mechanical and everything can be explained once you're able to increase your sensitivity of what's happening. If you don't have the sensitivity, then none of this stuff will make sense. That's why the very first exercise you go through is building a ball where you're able to sense, oh, this stuff exists, right? If you don't get to that phase, it all looks mystical, right? You got to have an objective experience or a subjective experience, of energy exists, right? Once you establish that, then you increase the sensitivity of that energy. Then you start to realize how it functions, right? Then you're through the door and you can start developing yourself. And then it comes down to the power of your mind, the power of your body, and the power of your astral nature, your personality, and how far you want to take this, right? It's as simple as that. The only reason why it's difficult is because the group consciousness it doesn't accept it, right?
Yeah.
Or they don't know about it. That's what makes it so difficult, because learning the stuff, you're going against the grain. And astrally, we reject that as well, because we don't belong. So that's a different topic. But it's actually very easy stuff. And if you can develop yourself if you do the right things. It's a formula. Okay. If that helps, I'll see you next video.